Today we are going to be making art inspired by the artists, the Florida Highwaymen. To get started, you'll need various brushes, so a 1-inch brush or a sponge brush, a brush that's a little bit wider, and then a smaller brush to capture details. You'll also need a pencil, a paper towel, a cup of water, and paint. I'm using acrylic paint in light blue, dark blue, brown, green, red, and orange. And I've also created these little guides here. And this is just to help you create your different sections. We have skies, we have the skyline, we have trees, we have ocean or river, and we have grass at the bottom. So use this template to create guides just like I'm doing here. So now I'm going to connect the lines that I've drawn using my template, and they're not necessarily straight because in landscapes, if we look at the skyline, it's also not straight. So don't get caught up in being a perfectionist here. Now I'm ready to paint now that I've got my sections divided, and I'm going to start by wetting my brush, and I'm doing that so that the paint goes on a little more smoothly and not so thick. And I'm going to begin just brushing that paint on. You don't want it to be thick at all. It should be nice and thin, and it should dry pretty quickly. And that's with the light blue. Next, I'm going to clean my brush and squeeze out some of that water. And it's okay if it's not completely clean because we're going to use blue again. We're going to use that darker blue color. And we'll skip the next line and go to the third line, which is our ocean or river. We're going to paint that blue. You can use the flat edge of your brush to get straighter lines if you're a perfectionist, but again, it doesn't need to be completely filled in. Then you can clean off that sponge brush as best as you can, get some of that water out there, and go ahead and grab some green and brush that onto the bottom section. Now for the tree line in the background, I would like to take a little bit of brown paint and mix that with my green. We're just going to create a little bit of variation and a little bit of depth by combining those colors together. And I'm using a different brush, a smaller brush, because this is a smaller space. And go ahead and brush that darker green color onto the background, just like I'm doing as pictured. I'm also going to add a little bit of that darker green to the bottom, just to add a little more depth. Now that we've got our background, we're going to start working on our point sienna tree. This is a tree that you see in a lot of the Highwaymen paintings. So using my medium brush and a bit of brown paint, I'm going to start kind of shaping out my point sienna tree trunk. So just watch as I paint. Follow along and pause as you need to get this shape right. But all I'm doing is creating the branches of the point sienna tree. And some of your colors might start to blend, like if your background color isn't completely dry, it might start to blend in a little bit, but that's okay. Now I'm just creating some branches here. Okay, this is like my favorite part. I'm taking a little bit of red paint, just dabbing it in there, and then look at how I do this. Sort of creating these like arches while dabbing the paint. Do you see that? Just dab, 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 dab. Some of the brown paint is still wet, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But if I do get some of that brown paint on my brush after I'm done with that particular branch, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse off my brush just to make sure that the red color pops. And eventually your tree is gonna start to look fuller and fuller, and that's what you want. Just keep going, slowly adding red paint. I feel pretty good about this. So now, just to add a bit more depth, I'm gonna put a little bit of my red paint and mix it with my orange paint. Just to make this like really fiery, bright red. And it sort of looks like the sun is hitting the tops of my poinciana tree. And that's it. Of course, the last thing that we need to do is grab a little bit of paint and paint your name or your initials at the bottom of your painting, and you're all done. I hope you all enjoyed making art inspired by the Highwaymen.